Hello, my name is Livia Hoffman. I'm a senior at St. Ignatius College Prep with a love of the classical world in Ptolemaic Egypt. I currently volunteer at the National Hellenic Museum and was originally going to provide a series of lectures over the course of 3 weeks on site. Due to the current situation caused by COVID-19, I will be presenting these pre-recorded lectures, which I have titled the Eureka seminars, online. Today we are going to talk about the legend of Troy. To begin, we should talk about where Troy is located. First, we need to clarify that Troy is not located in Greece, but is actually located in what is now modern-day Turkey, and is in the Asia Minor region. The ancient city was along the coast of the Aegean Sea near Greece, and could be found near the island of Lesbos. The exact size of the ancient city of Troy is debated by scholars, but ruins found in historic Turkey have proven to be a key archaeological site that has provided a great amount of information on the ancient civilization of Troy, along with others in Asia Minor. Here is a photo of historic Turkey, the archaeological site that many scholars believe to be Troy. Here, many different types of artifacts have been found, along with remains of building foundations and floor plans. It is important to clarify the definition of an artifact. While you may think that an artifact is anything that is dug up from the ground, an artifact is something that is man-made, or something that is created by a person. These artifacts found at Hisarlik have provided archaeologists clues of what Troy was like and how it was connected to Greece. Before we talk about the legend of Troy, we should quickly talk about the story's author. The story of the legend of Troy was told by a man named Homer. Homer was the ancient Greek poet who is best known for being the author of the Iliad and the Odyssey. These two poems are classified as being epic poems. Epic poems are long poems which are centered around a hero. The word epic actually comes from the Greek word epos, which means poem. Homer is credited as being the first epic poet, and many believe that he is one of the greatest poets of all time. All of his works were memorized and were spoken aloud to audiences. It was only later that his poems would have been written down. It is believed that Homer's poems were recorded soon after the alphabet was invented, so for a while people had to memorize his poems in order to tell them. Homer is a mystery to many scholars, as there are not many facts about his actual life. It is hard to know when Homer was born, as he lived before a chronological dating system was in place. We also do not know for certain what Homer looked like. Homer's appearance is based on his character from his other story, the Odyssey, a blind poet named Demodocus. Scholars have interpreted this character to be a reflection of Homer, and as a result, Homer is depicted as being a blind bard. Still, Homer's appearance is debated, and some believe that Homer was actually a woman. Homer traveled throughout the ancient world with his lyre, and sang his epic poems to those around him. Here are some photos of lyres, the musical instrument used by Homer and other bards. The stringed instrument is similar to a guitar, and poets would play the instrument while they recited their poetry. The word lyre is derived from an ancient Greek word lyra, which means a stringed instrument with sounding board made of a tortoise shell. The instrument was first made out of tortoise shells, but later on was made from wood, and according to Greek mythology, the lyre wasn't created by Apollo, who was the god of music, but instead by Hermes, the messenger god. Now, moving on to the story. There are many characters in the legend of Troy, but these are the main ones to remember. On the side of the Greeks, we have Achilles, Odysseus, Hera, Helen, and Athena. You have probably heard of Achilles, or maybe the phrase an Achilles heel. The phrase comes from Achilles, who is the most powerful warrior in the story, and is characterized by his strength and his pride. Odysseus was another Greek warrior, who was known for his cleverness and intelligence. He even has his own story, the Odyssey. Hera is the queen of the gods, and sides with the Greeks due to her deep hatred for the Trojans. Helen of Troy, the most beautiful woman in the world, was the wife of Menelaus, who was captured by Paris. And Athena is the goddess of war and wisdom, who hates the Trojans with a passion. On the side of the Trojans, we have Hector, Paris, Aeneas, Penthesilea, and Aphrodite. Here is a brief description of these characters. Hector was the beloved prince of Troy, the mightiest warrior in the Trojan army, and the brother of Paris, who was his younger brother that stole Helen. Aeneas was a Trojan nobleman and a mighty warrior, who some believe became the founder of Rome, but we'll talk about that in a second. Penthesilea was the Amazonian queen who fought against the Greeks and battled against Achilles. We already know Paris, who was the second prince of Troy who captured Helen, and Aphrodite was the goddess of love, who supported the Trojans as Paris gifted her the golden apple. Now the legend of Troy begins with the kidnapping of Helen, the most beautiful woman in the world, and the wife of Menelaus, the king of Sparta. Helen was kidnapped by Paris, the prince of Troy, and in response, King Menelaus sent 1,000 ships under the command of his brother Agamemnon to bring his wife back. When the Trojans refused to return Helen to Menelaus, Greek city-states united against Troy, which in response allied with Thrace and other cities in Asia Minor, and thus the war between the Greeks and the Trojans began. But why did Paris kidnap Helen in the first place, you may ask? Well, it was because of a golden apple with an inscription saying the fairest of them all. Eris, the goddess of discord, placed a golden apple among three goddesses, Athena, Hera, and Aphrodite, who then began fighting over who should have the apple, with each of them claiming that they were the fairest of them all. To settle the debate, the goddesses asked Paris to decide which goddess should receive the apple. Each of the goddesses tried to persuade Paris into giving them the apple. Hera promised Paris that if she was given the golden apple, Paris would have all the power in the world. Athena promised Paris all the wisdom in the world in exchange for the golden apple. But when Aphrodite promised Paris the most beautiful woman in the world, Helen of Troy, Paris rewarded the apple to her, which angered both Hera and Athena and eventually causing the two to side with the Greeks. During the war, one of the most pivotal moments was the battle between Achilles and Hector. Achilles, who was indestructible everywhere except his ankle, killed Hector in battle. Hector's death caused the Amazons to join the Trojans against the Greeks, and led to Paris, the brother of Hector, to seek revenge on Achilles. Paris was able to kill Achilles as he shot him in his heel, the only spot where he could not heal. However, Paris was not the only person to defeat Achilles. In fact, Penthesilea, the queen of the Amazons, actually defeated him. The only reason why Achilles lived was because a god brought him back to life. The story of Penthesilea and the other Amazonian warriors actually inspired the story of Wonder Woman. 10 years after Helen was kidnapped, the Greek warriors found a way to invade Troy, which had, at that point, been protected by a great wall. When it seemed that all hope was lost for the Greeks, a soldier named Odysseus came up with a trick. Odysseus and the Greeks built a massive, beautiful wooden horse, and they left it outside the gates of Troy, while they pretended to sail back to Greece. While the Greeks pretended to retreat, the Trojans celebrated, and some brought the wooden horse inside the city. Some warned against this. Cassandra, the daughter of the Trojan king, argued that the horse was a trap. However, the Trojans were persuaded by a Greek soldier who pretended to be a deserter, and so the horse was brought into the city. But the wooden horse was actually hollow, and actually held 30 Greek soldiers inside. While the exact size and weight of the Trojan horse is unknown, archaeological and historical evidence have been used to give an estimate height and weight. By measuring the width of the Trojan gates, some archaeologists have estimated that the horse was about 10 feet wide and 25 feet tall, and the estimated weight of the horse is around 4,000 pounds. Many countries claim to have been connected to the Trojans in their foundation myths, so that their country could claim to have a noble origin and a connection to the classical world. The Romans claimed in one foundation myth to have been founded by Aeneas, the Trojan warrior. The Roman historian named Virgil wrote an account of this called the Aeneid, which is about the story of Aeneas starting with his escape from Troy and ending with his foundation of Rome. The myth of Brutus was created by a British man named Geoffrey of Monmouth, who claimed that the first king of Britain was the Trojan exile and descendant of Aeneas, known as Brutus of Troy. And the French claimed that they were descended from Astyanax, who was the son of Hector, who later changed his name to Francus. Now, these foundation myths are not true, but they're used by Rome, Britain, and France to create a connection between Greece and themselves. Many modern sayings come from the legend of Troy. You might even be able to recognize a few. The phrase, "Beware of Greeks bearing gifts," is a reference to the Greeks tricking the Trojans with the Trojan horse, and is used as a warning. The term Trojan horse is used to describe something that at first seems good, but in reality is actually bad. Some computer viruses are called Trojan horses for this reason. And a face that launched 1,000 ships is an idiom that is used to describe Helen, whose kidnapping caused Menelaus to send 1,000 ships to Troy. All of these come from the myth of Troy. Try to see if you can hear these phrases in your daily life. Thank you for listening to my talk. I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to talking more about the classical world with you. I know that social distancing has prevented me from giving my talk in person, but I do hope that you were still able to enjoy my lesson on Troy, and I hope you were able to learn something new and exciting. Thank you again, and have a great day. Bye!